So far this year, the financials are running 23% over expectation. This is driven mainly by attorney costs in regards to the DNR dredging in one of the sensitive areas of the lake to protect that sensitive area. Budget discussions have started for 2025, and one of the goals of the budget is a 5% tax cut to the riparian owners for their share of the Lake Buell National withdrawal from their tax due. The dredging issue was at W1905 Sullivan Road was resolved with a compromise of a pier occurring within the riparian zone of the property, extending out 200 feet into the lake to a depth of water depth of 3 feet. The pier compromise replaced the need to dredge and extend the current channel along the shoreline. The DNR supported this pier solution, and the pier permit was actually submitted to the town and approved at the May town board meeting. The Lake Buell Management District Attorney will follow up with the DNR to confirm their approval of the pier solution and the withdrawal of the dredging. Buoy replacement on Mill Lake was delayed this year due to equipment failure. We had to replace the John boat motor, and the buoys have all now been installed. We discussed the type of buoys. Some of the buoys are in need of replacement. The older buoys have a cap over the top that is a direct access to the flotation device of the buoy, and sometimes that leads to premature failure for these buoys. During the meeting, Stan Alder submitted his resignation as commissioner of the Lake Buell Management District. He is also the aquatic plant harvesting manager, ending his term at the June meeting. The existing aquatic plant harvesting operations manager, his son Stu Alder, will continue to inform the commissioners on lake issues. All of the commissioners thank Stan for his 17 years of service. Sort of to address Michelle's issue with milfoil, Stu Alder stated that the staff has noted more weed growth in the lake this year, with increased calls to the weed hotline regarding hotspots. And it was Stu's suggestion that with the amount of rainfall that we've had this year, it's washed nutrients into the water that is enhancing weed growth this year. Stu mentioned some important dates that are upcoming. November 1st is the aquatic plant report is due to the DNR, and 2025 is the 5th year of the current harvesting permit, and a new permit will require an aquatic plant survey as part of the application. Also, due to the recent storms, the management district has received calls of downed trees in the water. The removal of these trees are the responsibility of the riparian owner, and not the responsibility of the management district. Guidelines from the DNR encourage that these trees downed in the water be left in place to encourage a natural habitat where possible. We've added an additional lake bottom monument this year, but the district still monitors the pumping action of the village of East Troy all over 7 corridor. And we're still on the hunt for blue-green algae, and some masses have been noticed floating in the water. Lake Beulah Protection and Improvement Association gave their annual report to the district. Tom Vandenberg gave his annual report, and the district donated $1,000 to their fish stocking program, which will include smallmouth bass. Tom did mention that there's evidence of spawning of this fish type in the lake, so that was encouraging. Every other year, the DNR also stocks the lake with log, so it's a two-step combo there. There was a Canadian Goose Roundup in the spring this year, while the mature birds were molting and young fledglings had not developed their flight feathers. In both cases, the birds could not fly. The Roundup netted 103 birds, and riparian owners needed to apply for this activity to occur. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is Tuesday, July 30th, and the annual meeting of the riparian owners is scheduled for August 27th at 7 o'clock here at Town Hall. That's my report.
Greg? Greg with a question. If a riparian owner wants to remove the downed trees, do they need to get a permit from the DNR to do that, since it's within the 75 foot shore?
I would think that they would have to check with the DNR. Obviously, that question is about trees left in place where possible offers a whole line of review scenarios.
Okay.
Could I ask a quick question? Down on sensitive area number 7 down there, there's a channel that's marked on the maps, but there's no buoys that are out there that distinguish exactly where the channel is. This time of the year, the lily pads come up and you have a very, very well-defined channel to get you in and out of sensitive area number 7. I have 3 extra buoys. What would be the procedure or process if I wanted to take them in and out in the spring and the fall, just so that that's marked there so nobody goes into sensitive area number 7?
There are private buoys on the lake. I think you should call Stu to
Okay,
coordinate that.
all right, I'll call Stu, thank you.
His number is 262.
Okay,
363
okay,
5359.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Sure.
Recycling committee, anything, John?
Nothing to report tonight.
Anybody reports?
Yes, there are a few items here. This is from the East Troy Lions Public Library Board Meeting, 11 June 2024. Number 1, the first annual Children's Parade held on July 1st was a great success. Number 2, the summer reading program is going well. Over 300 children, teens, and adults are participating. 138 attended the Snake Discovery Program. The library manned a room for the 2024 Chamber of Commerce Scavenger Games. Feedback was very positive because the library employees were in costume, reflecting an old school library setting. Number 3, Benchmark of East Troy expanded their donation to the Nancy O'Connell Memorial. They donated all labor and materials for the project. Number 4, new furniture for the lower level is in place, completing the updating of the lower level. Number 5, the library board completed a review of a handbook for Wisconsin Public Library trustees and are now reading and discussing Wisconsin Public Library standards. That's all.
Thank you very much, and thank you for speaking. Planning commission report, Supervisor John, or you have anything at all?
Nothing new, we're meeting, on Wednesday at 6:30.
All right, no unfinished business, and new business review, special event permit policy, ordinance policy. This came about, well, probably 3 weeks ago, there was a question, the chief had a question. And I believe, the discussion is really, are we following the ordinance, or is the ordinance clear enough? Does it need revision? Are we doing it right? What is, why don't you start out, chief, what your concerns were?
I don't have anything in front of me, but I recall the conversation, there's two different places in the ordinance. One talks about, the ordinance applies to any town-owned property, to have a special event. And another place in the ordinance talks about having to show proof of ownership of the property where you're hosting your special event, which leads me to believe that it applies to private property, which I don't necessarily agree with, so I constructed an email and sent it to Mr. Mills asking for clarification.
You want to read it? I have it here.
I'm sorry?
You need the email?
You have
Read
it?
I
Yeah. That way, my exact words are heard and not my paraphrase. Background, and I'll just read my entire email. Upon being hired back in 2022, I fielded several requests for special event permits for people hosting graduation and birthday parties at their private residence. I personally found that to be very strange and have approved all the permits. However, as we move forward, more and more people seem to be pushing the envelope. I took it upon myself to read chapter 12, which covers special permits. My question for clarification is, under definition, it reads, all property owned by the town of East Troy, and says nothing about a person's private property. However, under section 12.65.060, section C and section D, it talks about legal ownership of the property. So I'm confused slightly as to, does this ordinance apply to all properties within the town or just town-owned properties? I'm getting wind that several property owners, have been potentially, going to be holding large parties with bands and such at their homes for celebrations and weddings. I want to be consistent with all of them, when asked. And I finished it with, I view this differently than a business owner having a party at his or her place of business. I believe the definition can be argued that they would need a special event permit. I'd love to hear your thoughts and receive your guidance on this up and coming matter. So that's the email that I sent to Mr. Mills.
And then you responded.
I did,
Yep.
but I would need to read that.
I'll give it back to him.
So my response to the chief was, you're correct in your reading of chapter 12.65. Historically, we've only had people apply for events held in the town park. However, when you read all sections of the ordinance, it applies that it is applicable to all properties within the town. And the two sections where it talks about providing proof of ownership is on the application itself, which would be confusing to people. Sometimes we've had people apply, if they were having weddings on their property, but I believe the original version of the ordinance said it applied to any gathering where 35 or more people would be gathering, question mark. I think this needs to go on the agenda for the board to determine if it wants to require a special event permit for graduation parties, weddings, business events, etc. Until it is addressed by the board, I think the definition section controls, and it only applies to use of town property. That makes sense because we would not otherwise have to require that a policy of insurance be had naming and insuring the town for at least $1 million in coverage per person. If the board only wants it to apply to town-owned properties, I think an amendment to the ordinance should be made to remove some of the confusing language.
Now, we've had applications and requests every year for graduation parties, special event permits. She looked at it, the basic problem there was, the potential problem was, where the people got parked. Okay, and on some of the bigger events, that was in the application that had to be filled out, saying we're gonna be parking here and shelter here or whatever. Most of them are not that size, but we've had plenty of private property, right? And of course, the, main ones, of course, town park, and that's where, some of that language comes from, especially with the insurance or whatever. So, the question we have is, just as I stated again, should we require them for all events, and I believe the 35 or more people, that, I remember that, we, stated more than once. Should we continue that or not? We've done for both, town park and for private property. Yeah, okay. So, that's the question. Should we clear up the language in, 1265 to take away some of this ambiguity that's making it a little difficult for the chief and you to do the job?
I just wanna make one comment, I was never copied on this email, that's why it wasn't in your packet.
Neither I was either.
Yeah, so it's all new to me too, so I was never included, that's why the
So-
four of you have no idea what's going on.
Mr. Chairman, are you looking for a motion then on this?
No, this is discussion here, right now, on what we think direction we should take. Should we have, during review that and make those changes, but if he's gonna make changes, we need to say what changes we want.
Well, can we table it till the next meeting, so we have time to look
And
at
have
what's going
background,
on?
because they
and
don't
see
have
what's going on?
anything relevant to that topic.
Yeah, the discussion was, should we do something with this? And I agree, the question should be answered either way, but having more time to look at it. But the town code, there is ambiguity there, and that was called out by the chief, and Jim responded to it, which basically opens the question back to us, what do we want? What do we want to do? So, yeah, we could make a motion to table it. I would say the two emails from June 20th could be forwarded to everybody. I could do that. I have a copy of it. June 20th and June 20th. So, any other comments on that from what you looked at so far?
Yeah, I believe that when you look at the definition section, and then under regulations. Under regulations, it says, no special event shall be permitted to continue past the regularly posted park hours. So I think this was designed for town property only. And the only reference to, record owners of title are on the application section, so any modification would just be taking that line off of the application. So there wouldn't be that much of a change.
All right, so then what we should do, is we should, we have listed here as review, but since we are listing all items up for discussion, consideration, deliberation, possible formal action, yes, we should table it. And the agenda item for August, should be, to have that same discussion and then authorize the attorney to, amend the ordinance if so directed by the board. So we need a motion to table it.
I make a motion, we table, the review of the special event permit ordinance policy until the August 2024 meeting.
A second.
All right, we have a motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. I will forward, the email between the chief and the attorney and myself, to everybody tonight or tomorrow. Okay, next item is, we have a couple resolutions, the attorney report.
We do. First is, resolution number 2024-5. There will be a change required under the, now therefore be it resolved section in number 1, between the words one and dollars in that first line, 1,000 needs to be inserted there. But otherwise, the resolution reads as follows. It's a resolution authorizing borrowing pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 67.12 sub 12. It reads, whereas the town board of the town of East Troy hereby finds and determines that it is necessary, desirable, and in the best interest of the town of East Troy, Walworth County, Wisconsin, hereinafter referred to as the town, to raise funds for public purposes, including borrow $100,000 for park playground equipment, borrow $55,000 for town hall building, in parentheses, we have generators, courtroom, office remodel, meeting room upgrades, and shop siding and gutters. To borrow $151,500 for police department equipment, including the purchase of radios. Borrow $320,500 for fire/rescue expenditures as determined by the district, including the purchase of radios. Borrow $45,000 for DPW equipment. Borrow $700,000 for new roads, South Shore Drive, Honey Creek to village limits, Beulah Meadows, Wolf Way, and Army Lake Road. Borrow $85,000 for old roads. That includes seal coating on Wilderness Grove Road, Oak Ridge Road, Army Lane, and Division Road. And whereas the town board finds and determines that funding the cost of the above listed items, is within the town's power to undertake and therefore serves a quote public purpose, end quote, as that term is defined in section 67.04 sub 1 sub B Wisconsin statutes. Now therefore be it resolved, 1, that the town shall borrow the sum of $1,441,000 on the terms set in a 10-year loan instrument due no later than 10 years from the date the note is executed for the financing of the above referenced items with said principal and interest to be levied as a direct annual irreplaceable tax upon all property in the town, and establishes a debt service fund as required by section 67.11 Wisconsin statute. Said note shall be with First Citizens State Bank of Whitewater. Said terms of the note shall include an interest rate of 5.85% and the date or dates of installment payments. The note and amortization schedule shall be attached hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. Repayment of this loan is allowed. 2, for the purpose of paying the principal of and interest on the notes as the same becomes due, the full faith, credit, and resources of the town are hereby irrevocably pledged, and there is hereby levied upon all of the taxable property in the town a direct annual irrepealable tax in the years the loan is in existence. 3, so long as any principal of or interest on the note remains unpaid, the town shall be and continue without power to repeal such levy or obstruct the collection of said tax until all such payments have been made or provided for. After the issuance of the note, said tax shall be, from year to year, carried on to the tax roll of the town and collected in addition to all other taxes and in the same manner and at the same time as other taxes of the town for said years are collected. Section 4, there be and there hereby is established in the treasury of the town, if one had not already been created, a debt service fund, separate and distinct from every other fund, which shall be maintained in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 67.11, with Within the debt service fund, there is hereby established a separate and distinct account designated for the borrowed funds herein, and such account shall be maintained until the indebtedness evidenced by the note is fully paid or otherwise extinguished. 5, all prior resolutions, rules, or other actions of the town board, or any parts thereof in conflict with the provisions hereof shall be, and the same are hereby rescinded insofar as they may so conflict. In the event that any one or more provisions of this resolution shall for any reason be held to be illegal or invalid, such illegality or invalidity shall not affect other provisions hereof. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption and approval in the manner provided by law. I did note under 2, it has note in plural, and it should just be note.
All right, we need a motion to approve resolution 2024-5. I will have additional change during, discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve, resolution number 2024-5 as amended.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Mark, you have a second. Okay, under discussion here, the change under the new roads, South Shore Drive, yes. Pine Creek to village limits, that's what, Hams Road to village limits, that should be Hams Road.
Yep.
To,
It's Hunter Creek Road
from
from Hams.
road to village limits. And I suppose as long as we're right, this should say village destroyed.
HAMMS.
Yes.
Is that the comment you had?
Yeah.
All right, any, other comments, questions before we vote? Right, on the motion to approve resolution 2024-5, resolution authorizing borrowing pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 67.12,
Yes.
as amended. On the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None, motion carries.
The next resolution is 2024-6. It's a resolution amending the 2024 budget for the town of East Troy. This one calls for a roll call vote. It reads, whereas the town of East Troy Town Board has agreed upon a 2024 budget, and whereas it became necessary for the town to borrow funds to meet budgeted expenses and to attend to unforeseen emergencies, and whereas the town board approved borrowing $1,441,000 in resolution 2024-5, and whereas the town of East Troy is exempted from the publication of the Class 1 notice of changes to an annual budget under Wisconsin statute section, I don't know why that symbol changes whenever I send it to you. 65.90 sub 5 sub A. Now therefore be it resolved. The town board amends the 2024 budget as follows. 1, revenue increases. Designated funds in the amount of $481,428. State grant / local transportation aids in the amount of $16,000. Loan / road construction in the amount of $169,641. 2, expenditure increases. Town hall building projects in the amount of $481,428. Fire / rescue in the amount of $94,000. New road construction in the amount of $91,641. This resolution was duly considered and adopted by the town of East Troy Town Board pursuant to a vote, a blank for and blank against, and blank abstentions on this 8th day of July 2024.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-6.
Be as amended, because I have to add that 1,000.
I'll make a motion that we approve Town of East Troy Resolution number 2024-6, resolution amending 2024 budget for the Town of East Troy as amended.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Drew, you have a second? Discussion, questions? All right, on the motion to approve resolution 2024-6, roll call vote, Barkowski, aye.
Leonard, aye.
Whereas I,
Church, I.
Johnner, aye.
So the vote is 5-0. Right, resolution is approved. Okay, I think that's a few.
It is, although, for next month, there was an error found in the no parking zone ordinance. There's a reference to
it's a
Beulah
typo.
Lake Road
It's a typo.
instead of
A and an N. That's
Beulah
all it is.
Lane Road.
I don't think we have to authorize him to change anything. I'm going to email Code Publishing and tell them to fix their typo.
Well, all ordinances, it
It's a typo.
says lake instead of lane.
Right, but it's an ordinance that,
It's already existing.
what we're changing.
Yes,
One letter. It's a typo.
it doesn't matter.
You're gonna pay him to fix a typo?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be sitting there in court and saying, that's not the road I was on.
That's exactly what's gonna happen if it's not changed.
Right, Michelle? That's the road you're on?
Nope.
All right, so that should be on there. Okay, special event permits, we have 2 of them.